Hello, my name is Lynda Wright, and I'm here with Macon Memories at Randolph-Macon College. Today is November the 3rd, 2008, and I'm speaking with Tom Proctor and James Henry.
I'm Thomas R. Proctor. Came to Randolph-Macon in June of 1957 and retired in 1994.
My name is James Henry. I came to Randolph-Macon in September 1950, retired in July 1995.
I was hoping both of you would tell us how you happened to come to Randolph-Macon, how you got your first job here, and what it was like. We'll start with you, Mr. Proctor.
Well, I came to Randolph-Macon. I used to work for the R&P Railroad, and they had been laid off, and I was working they had an ice house down the street. And I was working in the ice house, and one of the co-workers, matter of fact, it was James Henry's brother, told me, he said, why don't you come over to college? Well, the job I was working, I had to work all day Saturday. And he told me the college was only working a half a day Saturday. So that meant a lot to me, and I came to Randolph-Macon. That's the way I came to Randolph-Macon, and I worked on the yard for a little while prior to doing that summer till school opened in September. And then I was transferred to the janitorial department, and my job was just cleaning bathrooms in Thomas Branch and Murray Branch. And what we had, it wasn't a SIG, it was the campus exchange. We'd go in there maybe once a week. And then over the years, I got to clean in the offices. I just cleaned office. And then after that, we had some more openings, and they wanted to send me to the church. But between the time of going, wanted me to go to the church, the man at the gym quit. And they asked me to go down to the gym and try it out. And I had heard that the AD down there was pretty hard to get along with, so I heard. But I told my foreman that I would go down there and try for 30 days and let's see how that go. Because I want to leave me over if I want to come back. And I went down there, and me and the AD down there, we got along like two fingers in a glove. And I stayed down there with Coach Stevens, that was his name. And so I stayed down there even after he retired. And I tell everybody now that was the smartest move I ever made since when I came to Randolph-Macon. And because I was talking to some of my other co-workers, and I was saying, I don't know whether I ought to go down to the gym or not. And one of them was a guy I used to work with, his name was Robert Grimes. And him and I was just sitting there talking, and Grimes said, Tom, with your personality, you can make it anywhere. And I tell him about it now. So I I stayed down there for 37 years. I mean, not down there, but 20-some years was down at the gym. And it was my smartest move.
How about you? How you happened to come to Randolph-Macon?
My brother was working here at that particular time, and they had an opening for custodian. The same brother that invited Tom to come here and work. And I came over here. We had two dormitories, Murray Branch and Thomas Branch, and it was all male student. And I guess about 8-10 years after that, an open came up in the print shop, as we would call it then. Dr. Richard Grove, who had a Navy contract with Dow Green, and his reports had to be done on an offset press. It was a student here that had been in service, worked on offset press in service, and came back here to study ministry. And he was getting ready to graduate, and Dr. Grove asked me, would I try this? And I did. Dormitory over to the administration building, which is Pia Hall, And at that a little before that particular time, it was the library. And Tom and another cousin of mine had got out the library, took out the stacks and everything, and they made it into administration office. So I stayed in there for quite a while. Dr. Molan, who was the president, Marshall McNeil was the treasurer, and the little bit of money we got wasn't much. So we all tried to do a little extra work to try to offset and make some kind of a living. But while we was here, in Custorum situation there, we had to do a little bit of everything. Even went outside and raked leaves, or during the fall, or did a lot of cleaning up in the dormitories. At that particular time, we had to make up beds when I first came here and clean the rooms up. One of the things we had was an old pasteboard box to dump the trash cans in it. A lot of times we came out and it was full of water. Even they set it on fire a few times, some of the students. Then they had water battles, and the water ran down the steps like it was running down James River. And of course the administration would tell us, boys will be boys. So we had to clean it up. But all of that disappeared after a while. On the side of the campus that we're living on, where we are on now, where the library was at, it wasn't any academic building or anything over this side of the campus. They had some barracks that came from the Army. World War II was over here. I saw Fox Hall being built. I witnessed the Science Building, which was Smith's Hall at that time, the library, the auditorium,
Haley Hall,
the Duncan Memorial Church, the dormitories out here we would call the village. Many years they had a tennis court out there, and then they moved that tennis court from out there over here by the cafeteria, I think, somewhere in that spot back up in there. But we witnessed the cafeteria being built and everything over there. We witnessed Molan Dormitory. I can't call the name of all the others.
Star was up there too. Star
Dormitory?
Yeah, that was the last
Was that
one.
Star?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First one you get to.
Right. But I worked under 3 presidents, Dr. Molan, Luther Wright, and Lydell Payne, under 3 treasurers, Marshall McNeil, Reed, and Tom, what was the last one? I can't call the name of it.
You got Reed with me just now.
I know him, but I can't call his name.
Let me see if I heard his name.
That last treasure. You just called
Reed?
Not,
wasn't the last
no,
one.
Reed wasn't the last.
You sure lived up in it? That's the last one I got on there. Kaiser, White, Reed.
Cousin Reed came out of the service.
Uh,
Bowles.
Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, you right, Ball.
Bowles.
I forgot it.
Just before I retired, the treasurer that is here now took over. I cannot call his name right at this moment.
Go on now.
Aladdis, right. He took over then. But I didn't work.
Can you talk? You talked a little bit about this, about the custodial work, but can you talk about in your different positions what your relationships were like with the students? day to day? Did you have much interaction with the students?
Yeah, you have very much interaction with them because the dorms at that time was all male. I mean, to begin with, and you had to go in and clean rooms and up and down the halls every day. And of course, sometimes you walk in there, you felt like cussing when they didn't have one of them water battles and water running down the steps. And I remember one incident I had when I was cleaning office, and in one of the fraternity houses was over there on that side of the campus. It was Cap Signal and what was it, K, and Lamakai was over there. And I had to go up and clean. So one morning it was a real kind of one of them dreary mornings, foggy and raining. And it was early in the morning. We went to work at 7:30, and as I started up the steps because they downstairs was mostly for recreation, and they slept upstairs, but had to come up the stairwell. And just as I started up top of that, halfway up that stairwell, I saw some legs and some shoes hanging down there. And I backed up because it hadn't been, it had been recently that a kid had hung himself in a dorm, not here at Randolph-Macon, somewhere else. And as I went up the steps, I could see them feet hanging down like that, and them waist overhaul was hanging like that. And I said, wow, I ain't going up there. So something told me, I said, I'm leaving, I'm going to the office and report it. So, and then on my way over there, something said, man, you better not go out. You know how many cranks these kids pull on you. So my heart was going. But I braved it and came on back. And I started up the steps, and I got about halfway up there, getting them things up there bust out and come as laughing. And they had made a dummy out there. And I set it up just like a real person, and them feet hanging down like that. I just swore it was that boy done hung himself. And they had the biggest joke over that thing for the longest about that. I think everybody on campus had me laughed at me about that thing.
Yeah.
But I said, well, I'd rather
remember that when it happened.
I'd rather for them to have laughed at me and for me when I off and had half an Ashland police station say, boy, done hung himself. So that's some of the working in the dorm, and especially Jimmy, when they had those initiation for fraternities, they'd throw all them onions and apples and all that stuff up down the walls. And like you said, in the summertime, we used to do painting and washing walls down, washing the furniture down. We had to do all that.
The custodian had it really rough at that particular time, or had to clean up that mess and everything. Truthfully, we heard all kinds of words too. Students would call out the window and call you all kinds of things and do all kinds of things to you and say all kinds of things. I recalled at one time at Thomas Wright's dormitory, this was a few years had passed in, and they had a trash truck used to come over and pick up the trash because they had dumpsters sitting outside, and the janitors had to dump their trash in the dumpsters. And the trash truck would come on, the man would come over, and sometimes he had to get out and peep around and this and that. When he got out, them boys threw a bucket of water down on him. Town people would pass through the college. Students would holler at them, say anything to them, any kind of way there, whatnot. I guess all of this passed. I record the time when they went co-ed, and they had something like 50 girls come in here, and 2 of the girls was black. And at that particular time, the first black student, full-time student, went here was named Howard Payne. Dr. Moore and them got him out of Virginia Union in his junior year. I'm not sure exactly what the reason, but we thought that they wanted some guy. So they brought Howard Payne out of Virginia Union for 2 years. While he was here, they did a lot of things to him, such as put sand or sugar in his gas tank and set up water when he opened his door, that bucket of water fall on his head. They did everything they could do it. But he stayed here, and I think Habit went on to work for Chevron out in California somewhere, and got a big position out there and whatnot there. The first black basketball player, if I'm not mistaken, was Dennis Howard.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
Right after that, Fletcher Johnson, Jerome Ross, who is professor here now, that came in with Mike Lowe. Not too long, maybe before then or right after that, they brought a football player in here, Howard Stevens. And he was a running back and was a great running back. I think Howard stayed here a couple of years, and then he went up into Kentucky or something like that, where he could be recognized, maybe had a chance of being in the pros. If I'm not mistaken, he might went to the
He
pro.
did.
Yes.
He went to the pro.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the name of the team he went to, but he's come back by here.
Yeah. But I recorded the library, not the library, the cafeteria. And Catherine Larry,
Oh, boy.
working was the dietitian at the cafeteria. And they bought a black football player from some other teams that came in to play around North Macon. And when the team came into the cafeteria to eat, she said no, she is not going to feed them. And the coach said, if you don't feed them, we're going to get the school in trouble. So she took her apron off and threw it on the floor and told the other people, say, y'all feed him, I'm not going to feed him. And she walked out of there. But the school didn't really do anything about it. I wasn't out there, but the time was ripe. And black students that played on other teams and played around North Macon had a right to come here and go into that cafeteria and eat. And they fed them. So things was changing a great deal. I think Fletcher Johnson maybe broke all kinds of records at basketball when he was here, and I don't know if some of them records still stand or not.
Did you feel like your relationship with the students improved once there were black students on campus? Some of the things you mentioned earlier, did those stop once there were, actual black students at Randolph-Macon?
Oh, I think it improved, but you probably have a little scrimmage here and there. But they finally got to, they kind of accepted them because they was in sports and things like that. I don't know whether any of them was in any of the fraternities. I don't remember them being in there, do you, Jimmy?
Not at that particular time. They didn't join any fraternities. I think I recall when Fletcher Johnson and Jerome Ross and Mike Lowe and one or two more was here, they didn't have a fraternity on campus that probably wouldn't accept them or whatnot. So they went out to Virginia Union and joined one of the fraternities there. And I recalled when they had that initiation right out here by Student Union building. The black students had that. I can't recall exactly what was the name of the fraternity that they had, but I believe they started their own fraternity.
Yeah.
How about your relationship with faculty and staff in your positions? You mentioned the athletic director, but can you talk a little bit about your relationships with faculty and staff during your time here?
On the inside, Mr. Harris, he was the one after, I can't think what his first name was, but he had a nickname to him. He used to have real black hair in his early days, and most everybody referred to him as Blackie Harris. But I had pretty good relationship with them. And of course, being working in the library, I only saw like Ms. Owens and teachers. I mean, other staff members in there like Ronnie Jones and whatnot. They had upstairs there, and Ms. Reynolds. I knew them, but I didn't have much contact with them other people. And I don't have more contact with more of the people when I went to work for the athletic department. A lot of coaches and things came through, so I had more of my interaction was with them. And we had a very good relationship with all of them.
Good, and with the players as well.
Oh, yeah, because when I first, they used to do the laundry for Arsenal. Laundry would come by and pick up the football stuff, basketball stuff, and eventually they decided it was cheaper to buy a washing machine and a dryer, and they put it in the gym. So for all the for the athletic department, the gym down there, I mean, it's football and baseball and all that stuff. I done all their washing. Of course, they had a trainer, but I done washed a lot of their stuff because I came early in the morning to get them started for the day, and learn how to operate the machines, the big tubs and the dryer. But I had a very good relationship with them and most of the team players when I was at the athletic department.
How about you with faculty and staff?
Well, I had a pretty good relationship. I was the first black or the only black in Pier Hall in the administration building. They moved the print shop in that building. All of the faculty had to come over there to get that work done, so I had a pretty good relationship with most of the faculty, and most of the staff came there. So I got along pretty well with most of them, even back in those days, and things grew a little different after time went on, and we got very close. I got very close to the faculty. In fact, I know quite a few of the faculty now, and quite a few of them have retired, and some of them have died. Just like I say, and I go back, Richard Grove, who I think was one of the finest gentlemen here, and he was in physics.
Mm-hmm. I think it was
Probably one of the hardest subjects. Very brilliant man. Started me off in the print shop, and then he started the computer center.
Mm-hmm.
And he came and asked me did I know anybody, special black, that could do key punching. And it happened my sister had took up the key punching, and she came over and worked for him. Dr. Grove was called to MCV and worked or started off the computer system down there. Very brilliant man. And then I guess University of Mississippi called him. I guess that was the name of this college down there, but he went down there and started off their computer system and died. Had a massive heart attack. But he was one of the finest gentlemen I ever want to run across, one of the nicest professors that ever worked here during my time. And I sure would love to know where his children are. I don't know where his wife is living or his children. I would love to know. I can't get in touch with any of them.
I think one of the other things, Jimmy, for his benefits during the time we first came there, that was very poor. We didn't have no insurance, and that's the reason why we used to have
no retirement.
No retirement, and we they had us work on that half a day on Saturdays, and didn't pay no overtime. But then when the government said when you work over 40 hours, you had to pay that overtime. So Mr. McNeil, he's still a smart man now. He said he wasn't going to pay it. So what they do is work half of the crew, like in the janitor's board. Some of them have to come in on Saturday because the dorms and what have you. And what he would do, you'd work Saturday, and then you'd have to take off half a day during the week to get around that. But then as the college grew, it got so that you needed the full staff. So they finally had to pay their overtime. And for his insurance, we didn't have no insurance. And travelers, they used to always tell us that wouldn't nobody care us because we were black. And black was more prone to different diseases, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I don't know how the grapevine, somebody got into something. And the travelers, somebody from Travelers came out here and inquired about the insurance, and that's the way we got into having insurance. But at first we didn't have no insurance. And those, of course, at first, as a matter of fact, when it came, it was very good because they paid the whole thing. And then as the insurance premiums increased over the years, then we come to paying for our families, if you put your family in. And things began to get better over the years from then on.
Yeah, we was offered, after a while, the same insurance that the faculty had, the administration staff had, or no retirement. I guess I worked here 15 years without any retirement, and one thing led to another. I went in there to talk to the president. I think for Luther White. I could be wrong. I don't think it was Payne. I think it before Payne came here. And I told him it wasn't much use in me staying here any longer without any retirement. And he said he was going to the board of director and see what he could do. This fellow, Robert Grimes, who was here, was working with the painter, and then he took over as to being head painter, and he went with me in there and talked to the president too. And the president had a meeting with us down at the cafeteria and told us that the board had accepted and passed it, and we got retirement. Then we could, I think it was 5% of your salary, and the college would put up 5% or something like that.
Oh, they had 3. You could either take 3 or 5.
Well, whatever, yeah. But some of the people really didn't get into it. Then they brought it back down to maybe 2.5% or something. People were saying we wasn't making any money. We couldn't pay that 5%. The only regret I have today is I didn't put more into it.
Jimmy, I think we too should mention that you remember White, when during that time came about, I think it was one of the highest increases we got. They gave everybody, White gave everybody increase in pay because most of the raises we got would amount to maybe about $2.50
Yeah.
a day. Well, I mean, if you was making $35 a week, and next week you make $37.50 or something like that. But when White came, he raised everybody on the yard. I mean, wherever they was working, they got a 10% increase, and I said that was the biggest increase I believe we got since I was here. Up until that time, of course, as time went on, things got better because some of them older folks got out there and younger people came in. But and then, like you said, when their retirement came by, well, naturally, I wanted to get in because I had worked railroad and we had retirement, and I knew what retirement was, and I figured that if they were going to would give me 5%, I was going to squeeze mine for another 5%. So that's the reason I'm doing well now. So you remember that, Jim? I think someone said that the lowest you could take was 3, but they might have lowered it after that more than that. I don't know, but I always remember 3 and 5. They wasn't going over 5.
We had a superintendent of building and ground.
Who's that?
That very few of the workmen like. And I'm not going to call any name, but he didn't have a good attitude toward his workmen that was here. I really didn't come under him because I had moved into the print shop. I was under him, I guess, from the beginning because, like Tom said, Harris, I can't call his first name either right at this moment, was the superintendent, and then this other young fellow took over. But it looked like he had an attitude towards the blacks and whatnot that wasn't very suitable. We lost some workmen here because of his attitude. My brother left and went to Robbins, the pharmaceutical place. One of the reasons because of his attitude. Howard Abrams, who was kind of head of the yard at that time and was very good at the yard work out there. He went to Robbins because of the situation of the customer. Robert Grimes went up to King's Dominion when they opened up as the head painter up there because he asked for a raise and the superintendent wouldn't give it to him. And he said that was the best move he ever made, to go up to King's Dominion. But this guy wasn't a nice guy to get along with. He had a couple of brothers here, and to my opinion, just different as day and night. We got along with them very well. I did, anyhow.
I didn't have no problem.
Yeah, I see one of them now. Every once in a while we talk.
Yeah,
it happened the superintendent have Pace. He died, but after he retired, I don't know if he retired or not.
What's that?
I'm not sure, because they brought somebody in here and put it on top of him, and he didn't like it.
I'm trying to think of. He was a preacher's son. His wife worked as a secretary in the gym.
Yes.
Oh, I can't think of what his name was. He didn't stay here too long either.
I can't either. I know who you're talking about. Names go away.
Yeah, he wasn't here that long either, but I know what you... Oh, we always said he did preacher's son, and his wife worked down at the gym with me for a good little while. And then some incident happened, and she still worked here because she went down and worked for the Pains for a while.
This young boy that came back, and he got over top of the superintendent because of his education and because of his knowledge of knowing how to deal with the faculty and the board of supervisors and all that kind of stuff and whatnot there. He got over top of the superintendent. The superintendent was still the superintendent, but he didn't like this guy being over top of him. I'm not sure whether he quit or what happened. He wasn't a nice guy, and I'm being honest about it. He wasn't nice to his workmen.
His name, I don't even know my tongue.
He had 2 or 3 pets.
We called him Head. We called him Head all the time.
We did.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this guy that was over top of what's his name?
Yeah, his father was the minister of Duncan Memorial at that time, a very good Methodist minister, and he had 2 boys, I think. And I can't call the name of
Brent Douglas.
Douglas. Douglas. Reverend Douglas, who was at Duncan Memorial at that time. And he had these 2 boys, and these boys grew up and whatnot there. And one of them came back here and got over top of our superintendent. I'm not going to call his name. I can't call his name, no.
What's your happiest story about working here? Can you think of a funny story or just a happy memory you have about your work?
Go, Jimmy. Not to say for per se a particular moment, but I can say this beyond a shadow of a doubt, that my greatest working period here was the time I worked for the athletic department. I enjoyed working with the athletic department more than all. That was my best time of the whole 37 years, was when I went to work for as I said before, that was the greatest move I made when I went to work for the athletic department. I enjoyed working down there. I used to come off vacation sometime, and my wife said, "You hate to go back to work?" I said, "No, I don't hate to work." She said, "Well, I always hate to go back to work." I said, "I don't mind going back to work. I enjoy the time to come back, And of course, I had a good relation with all the athletes.
Good.
So I'd have to say my best time was the time I spent working for the athletic department.
Good.
I guess I could say working in the print shop. I got the hours that the office people got. Came to work at 9 and got off at 5. I had an hour for lunch. Cut stories and people that work out on the yard and whatnot got a half an hour for lunch. And they had to be here at 7:30, and I think they worked till 4 o'clock, something like that. But I got those hours, and then when Christmas time came, I got the same time that the office people got off. Vacation time and everything else. So there was a great time. The last 8 to 10 years that I was here, I really enjoyed.
Jimmy,
And if I could come back here today, I'll do it, but I'm not able to do that work anymore. But I enjoy working here those last 20 years of my life.
Vacation
It was beautiful.
Time, was one of the best things. You remember? Remember when vacation, when I first came in, of course you was here then.
Yeah.
And vacation, everybody had to take vacation at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was in it was in June or June. Yeah, because I
July,
came in
guess it
I
was.
came
Around
in
the
June,
4th of July,
and practically
something
everybody
like
was.
that. Because Custorum, I was here, and we had to take it.
Yeah, when I
at the
came,
same time.
everybody went on. Well, I had probably been here a week because I had the old truck running around picking up trash at the like dormitories and out at the village right now, and everybody was off. And then we didn't get but a week, and everybody had to take that when they said take it. And then over the years, then it finally got to the point where you could make your choice. But of course, they asked us to try to take it in such a time when it wasn't busy. Now, like me being in the athletic department, if I was going to take my vacation, I would take it anywhere between June and August because the football team would come back in August a little early. So I could have, anywhere from June to August, I could take my vacation and go. I think I know that the other departments done the same thing. They took most of the time when school was closed. But that thing one time, everybody had to take it at that one time. That was it.
Yeah, and we got sick leaves.
Yeah,
then,
we finally got sick leave. Yeah, it got better.
As well as personal holiday, personal days. And for now, one of the best time I had at Christmas time, the administration staff had 2 to 3 weeks off.
Yeah, y'all played it up.
And I got it. Most of the other people didn't get it that was working on the yard or whatnot, didn't get it. But I got just about everything that they offered the administration people, the deans, the president, the faculty secretaries, and all that. And I got along with them real well. When I retired, this young lady, Brenda, took my place. And Brenda is a whiz in computer. I couldn't do what Brenda is doing. And Brenda, she will holler today that she learned from me. But that's not really all true, because the college was switching over. They had switched over from the printing press into Xerox machines and this and that and all that. And I learned some of them Xerox machines, but then it was upgraded. And it wasn't easy to learn them and whatnot. And Brenda was a whiz at doing this, and she will holler now. She'll tell people, James Henry taught me in the computer system. We had a postage meter that we got out the mails and had bags of mails that we sent out and whatnot there. And we had to put money into the postage meter by telephone and whatnot. Brenda helped me a great deal in learning some of these things and whatnot there. And I still say that Brenda is great in computer.
You said put many books together too, didn't you? The professor writing them books.
Yeah, we put books together. In fact, when I first came here, we ran off some of the faculty books that wasn't offered to the faculty to teach their courses on the printing press. Just enough to give out to the students and the faculty could use. And a couple of professors went off and had those books. I can't use the
Published,
word
wasn't it?
published. Yeah, I had those books published after a few years or whatnot.
Well, we just have a few minutes left, so I was going to see if either of you had any final thoughts you'd like to record from Making Memories. And one thing I wanted to just ask is if your time here, what lessons you had learned about your work here.
I learned a great deal of lesson. One of the things that I was here, I think in 1963, they had the March on Washington, and I happened to go to it. My brother and I went, and quite a few other people ran here and went to it. We had an elder gentleman in the community that Tom probably know better than I know. Robinson.
William Robinson?
Conti.
Oh, Mr. Conti Robinson.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And he went with us. He was up in the age then. I don't know whether he was 90 years old or what he was at that particular time. But he went with us. William went too and whatnot there. But that was the greatest thing I guess happened to me in my life, to be able to go to that march. During that particular time, I had a few days left on my vacation, so I took a vacation. But my brother went, and he didn't have any vacation. And our treasurer didn't want to pay him, or didn't pay him. But Dr. Moreland spoke up and said, you pay him or else. And they paid him for that particular day. Now, of course, I had vacation days, so it didn't matter or whatnot there. But they gave me a award of honorary alumni, and I have certificates and things at home on it now. I guess it's a lot of things really went on. I saw it during the Methodist movement. They bought and this may not pertain into the school that much, but they bought a black overseer into this over top of the church that Ira Andrews and quite a few other people would know who I'm talking about.
Was that the Methodist thing? Was he over the Methodist?
Yes, he was with the Methodist, but he was overseer of this area. Mm-hmm. And they put him down on Henry Clay? No. What's the name of the street?
Thompson? England?
No, before you get to England. Going out this way.
Right, going out this way?
Yeah.
Oh. Henry Street or Merrill?
No, not Henry Street.
Merrill?
The one that run this way.
Oh.
Right there, the church.
Oh, that's Henry Street. England Street coming up there?
That England Street way over.
Ain't that England Street coming right up there by the old...
The England Street is the main
College
street.
Avenue.
College Avenue. And they brought him in here, and they put him in a house there on College Avenue. All white resident. Didn't no blacks live there.
I forgot all about
They made up nothing much they could do about him because the Methodist people brought him in here. I enjoy working in Pierre Hall. I enjoy working with the people I know. The faculty, Harold Davis, who was dean of college. Hired the first full-time black secretary. I'm just trying to think of what her name was. Things go away. I'd like to see her now. She lived up here on 207. She was living up here in Caroline County.
I can't think of
White. Her last name was White. Josephine White. And we laughed about it because President White had a secretary named Catherine Davis. Dean Davis had a secretary named Josephine White.
Oh.
So we just, to kind of put that together at that particular time. But Luther White was pretty good. The college really didn't have money like they got today. The endowment was way low. I recall one time it was so lean they gave us 1% raise. And some of the people turned it down. Say if the college is that poor, they didn't want it. And then some of them say, well, what are we going to do with 1% raise? Of course, when the college received money, they didn't never go back and make it good. So
I guess I would have to say my best memory was working with Coach Stephen. We got to be very close. But then he always was looking out for me. And at Christmas time, he always remembered me. If I wasn't around, he'd even come by my house. He's going to bring me that turkey for every Christmas. Coach and I had a very good relationship. Coach Werner, Coach Keller, and all of the coaches I had, and Blackburn, and all of them at this time. So I'd say that was my most enjoyable time of working for Randolph Macon is the time that I worked for the athletic department.
That's great. Well, any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we say goodbye?
No, we better not tell that, Jimmy. What I thought about, we better not tell.
but not tell what?
No, Mike.
Oh, I did have one thing I wanted to ask. You had mentioned you were, I think, both around when the library moved from Peel Hall to this new building. And could you talk about how the physical move of that? You were talking about demolishing the part in Peel Hall, but were you involved in the construction or putting things over here at all?
I wasn't in, but I think they used most of the custodians, and remember they had trucks came up here and they loaded it on and transferred and brought them over to the new library.
All the books from the staff.
I was working for the athletic department.
The custodian walked over a lot of things and have moved in here. Of course, this library has been remodeled since they built that. They've had on to it. It's just like the science building. It was a one-story. Not a one-story, but a basement and two-story building. Wasn't quite as large as Fox Hole. Mm-hmm. But then they add to that science building. It's a beautiful place now. But construction of this building, no, we didn't do anything. No. But it's a lot of the custodians did do some construction to the motel dorms. Mm-hmm. When they was being built out there. Mm-hmm. They built those motel dorms out there. Nothing looked like the dorms out there now. Mm-hmm. And the workers here helped build those buildings out there. They use them. The workers to do a lot of the working things out there.
Well, you know, when you was mentioning about how we, your cousin and I hauled that library out and turned it into a field hall, into an administration building. The work we done in there, the air hammers, and a lot of them stuff, you had to go in there and cut them off cement floors up there, and then we had to cut, I think there was about 6 by 6 holes down in there for them to pour cement to build this new building up there. And one time we had to haul that thing out, and the inspector came by there and looked, they didn't have no supports in there holding that thing, back about the 4 walls. And then they had that slate steel on top there. And they came and made them put some props in there, and I thought about that thing, how big a fool we was in there running them air hammers and cutting them steps out, you know, right there, you had to cut all that out. It was just the 4 walls when we finished with it, and then they rebuilt it. And I think I got a big reward that year for Christmas. They gave me a big bonus.
Yeah. How much?
$50.
Good. Well, I want to thank you both very much for coming and sharing your memories. Tom Proctor, James Henry, thank you.
Thank you for having us.